I'm with Andrey, farm manager at Wilkin, and Wilkin up at Tiptree in Essex, one of Essex's largest strawberry producers, and they produce raspberries and several other fruits. Now, we've talked a lot about the year. The year, you know, we've grumbled about the year, and it must have affected different crops in different ways. Is that right, Andrey?
That's correct. You know, it does affect the crops, and we have the tunnels. What you see
We
here.
can see in the background there.
Yeah, and they're affected too, not in terms of pollination or something, but in terms of colder weather this year. So they're slow development and everything. But we have also outside crops like our cherries, our plums. They can be affected much more by the weather. But this year, with our cherries, for example, we had much smaller set, and they've affected more. It's a different type of pollination comparing to plums. Plums are very good set. So different crops are affected differently in the same year.
Because again, they're reliant on insects, aren't they? Both those two tree crops, really, are they?
Correct. Insects, different insects, yeah, bees.
Which around, because this year has been cooler, there's less around, isn't there?
It is less around. Activity is much smaller, and then you need all that to coincide with the flowering period. If it's rainy, it's cold and everything, pollination is compromised, and your set is not great. So that's how it works, really.
Difficult times for farmers. So we've talked earlier about the strawberries. The strawberries are slower to produce, therefore the crop might be the same in volume or weight, but over a longer period?
Correct. You know, we still midsummer. We still got another 3 months to go.
Yeah.
And we hope the crops are, strong, the plant is strong and everything. We're just hoping the weather will open up at the end, and we're gonna have a nice, second half of the summer, and to catch up with what we've lost so far.
Now, raspberries are under tunnels as well. Yeah. So how have they been affected? Same as strawberries, slower, or?
Yeah, the raspberries are the same. The crop is looking really nice. Really, the fruit is there. It's just slow ripening. It's just you don't get the temperatures to push them. So we need a little bit more, warmer weather, and everything will just come in. The fruit is there, but it's just gonna take a longer period to ripen.
It is, over the years that I've been coming up here, this is, to me, one of the more unusual years that I've talked to you about. And it does affect crops, as you say, but because you protect with tunnels on certain crops, it's interesting to find that the volume or the weight, because you're on weight of crop really, aren't you?
Correct.
Is going to end up possibly the same over a period that might be longer. I think that intrigues me no end.
It is the case. It's just that you have less berries, perhaps longer, bigger berries. Weight won't be compromised by much, but it's just going to be the timing of the year when you're going to get your crops. That's the difficult bit to balance, really.
The only good thing there is if you were growing, say, grain, you wouldn't be thinking the same way, would you? Because that doesn't have that same effect. The protection is what it's about, isn't it?
Yeah, the protection gives us that certainty. So we know we've got that protection. Our crops to a certain extent are guaranteed, but of course which period they will come in at their highest peak, at the moment we are relying on the weather. We're not that yet. It's protected agriculture, what we call it, but not fully controlled agriculture.
Now when we go back to the cherries and the plums, are they later than normal or pretty well the same?
They're running late too. The set is great, but we think so. Our cherries are just started. By this time in a normal year, they're all gone, all finished, and our plums normally start around mid-August, but this time will be probably towards end of August, at least a couple of weeks later.
So it is quite different.
It is different, yes. It is different, and it's all because of the colder, wetter weather.
Yeah. Which we might get more of, we don't know. I mean, we're watching the climate around the world, and it's a changing world, isn't it?
It is, and I don't know which way it works.
None of us do we?
Yeah, is it going to be, we think global warming, the temperatures will rise, but this year we've been completely the opposite, really. The temperatures on average are much lower than previous years.
Now, I've been up here many times and we've discussed the reservoir. Now, your reservoir's full, but next to the reservoir, or close to the reservoir, you're putting in solar panels. Now, we always grumble about farmers putting in solar panels. So, come on, what are yours for?
So we're putting the solar panels, where you saw next to the reservoir and close to our factory. It's for running our factory on daily basis. So our commitment towards carbon zero towards 2030 is there to reduce our energy use and harvest all the sun what we can and put it back to the factory.
So that's pretty good as well, isn't it? Because you save all the water. All the water they can't, I mean, this year you may have got too much, but generally you collect your water, you put it back into the reservoir, clean it and pump it back out, don't you?
Yeah, that's how it works. So all the washings from the factory, they come to the treatment plant where the water is treated, cleaned and everything, and then sent to the reservoir for irrigation. At the same time, we're using our fields, some of the fields, to produce energy, and we send it to the factory. So it works both ways, really, for production of our jams.
It's quite intriguing, isn't it, to think you started possibly life as a farm and a jam factory, and now we have to consider all these other things that we add in to get you to being carbon neutral.
Absolutely, everything. It's a whole circle. So you have to think about every small details and how we can do it inside, basically offset all our carbon on with the land we have, factory and everything. We have to think about the whole concept to reduce our carbon footprint.
You'll be getting people to bring back their jam pots eventually, and having them re-washed and re-sterilised.
Yeah, we are ready for that, and that may happen, and it will happen, I think, with the years.
One day.
Because we've got our jars and multiple use. It just needs to be washed and put it back to the use.
See, I'm always thinking of ideas for you. See?
Thank you very much.
Now, here on World Radio Gardening, we spend a lot of time coming up to Tiptree and seeing how you're getting on. It's good to catch up with you this year, which to me has been one of the more difficult years as a gardener. But equally, it is just as difficult for farms. However, your protection farm makes it a little bit better for yourselves.
Yeah, a little bit easier, but we're still reliant on the weather.